Don't ruin my Wu-Tang. You God. He's got a blunt.
Well, can't blame him. Sometimes we need one. Speaking of that,
Fam, we're going to go down a little bit easy with the music today. Welcome to the couch, Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I am Fiorella. And as you can see, we're on the couch this time.
Yes, we are. We're back on the couch. We got Anthony in the studio. Say what's up, Anthony, nice and loud.
Hey, what's up, guys?
That's our engineer, our handsome man, Anthony, just returning from Chi-Town, Chicago, where he spent a lot of time with his lady, but now he's back with us, and he is working in the studio. We have a lot of things to unpack. You can see we're live from Moscow here. What's going on? We have it is now 4:25 a.m. in Moscow. It is 6:25 in California, and it is 9:25 in Florida, fam. What do you want to talk about? There's so many things to catch up with. First off, let's tell the people, how was your vacation?
My vacation was great. I was just in Florida. There was a lot of Trump supporters, of course.
Always.
A lot of, conservatives. But I managed to talk to a few people, including some of my family members. And we had reasonable conversations. And I found out we agree on some things.
Oh, yeah.
As usual.
Well, if you don't have deranged Trump syndrome, you're going to find a few things in there. Some areas that we like to talk about. The other day I did a show on trade. And as you can see, I stand for trade. But when it comes to the humanity first stuff, fam, we don't stand with Trump. So we call him out when we think he does a bad job, and we pat him on the back when he does a good job. So what are we going to talk about first, fam? Because I wore a tie today because you've been gone for so long, so I wanted to look good for our first show back.
I'm very excited. Our first show back, and also, you look great, by the way.
Thank you, fam.
And also the fact that we are streaming now on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. And Twitter.
Yes.
You should follow our Twitter.
All 49 followers watch us on Twitter, please.
We just started it.
Yes,
recently,
we did.
So, so we wanted to expand our, networking. So I wanted to start today with going over the immigrant family situation as of right now. So the court had ordered Donald Trump and the Trump administration to reunite all families by yesterday's date. However, there are still there's been 900 people that were thought eligible, but
yes,
there was a few, like 400 and so or more, that were not, were deemed ineligible for reunification. And the problem with that is you aren't deemed anything when they take you, when ICE takes you. There's no process for that, but somehow there's a process when you're supposed to be reunited with your children.
Yes.
So it's like a double standard.
Wasn't there a lot of situations, fam, where some of the people were deported themselves, so they're not even in the country, and we have the child here now?
Right. So there's that, where the families that were already separated, how are they going to be reunited? Like, the parents can't necessarily go back to the United States, so they're having to decide whether, is it better for me to send my child to foster care so they could have a better life? Or is it better for me to bring my child here in a country that I'm really not sure about, that it's undergoing civil war? Those are the questions these parents are asking. These children are suffering. And later on in the broadcast, we're going to have more on the humanity first actions that are happening right now. According to the latest numbers, though, we have 1,637 parents have been deemed eligible for reunification. And of
1,600,
those, yes, of those, only 1,100 parents have been successfully reunited with their children. So we're missing a great number of those parents.
Yeah, fam, I think there's going to be an issue with this when it comes to it and whatnot. It's going to get into what the rights of the president are and what his administration can do. I mean, I think there's only so much the courts can hold them accountable because, like, once again, they, with it being kind of like a foreign affair. They can really, there's some leeway for the government not to really rush to put these children together. I'm glad that somebody has put their feet to the fire. Once again, the laws haven't changed. I know a lot of this stuff did happen under Obama. What the policies did change, and that's the main thing. This was a policy enacted by Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions. It's a no-tolerance policy, and it really crammed the system. Now, I know a lot of people, I've seen people been bringing up videos of Barack Obama when he sat there and stated, if you bring your children through these conditions and they show up alone, they will be sent back. So the same attitude has been there, somewhat, same laws, but he really put the feet to the fire, and he pushed this hard. And it is kind of sickening what's been going on. And the Humanity First group has been pointing out people and calling them out, people in groups like the GEO group, which FAM was there yesterday. I wasn't able to make it down. Our boy Tim Johnson from Our Revolution, of course, Jeremy White, Michelle Manos, Brenda Gutierrez, all those beautiful people in the house. Lauren Steiner was there later on to cover it. It's really calling these people out, holding their feet to the fire, acknowledging who they are and who's profiting from this system, and that's something we need to continue to do, fam.
Yes, and there's a little bit more of that, like he said, that we're going to talk about, but I'm also going to talk about what Bernie Sanders is doing while other congressmen are up to no good.
Can I do the Bernie thing? Trump? He goes like this.
Bernie side-eye.
The Bernie side-eye and whatnot. Bernie Sanders introduces a new bill to end money bail. Talk about it, fam.
So Bernie Sanders, as all of you know, has long fought hard for the rights of people that have been incarcerated. So he just introduced the No Money Bail Act, which is a push to tackle criminal justice reform. So what that means is it's going to make it easier for people who are who have to pay bail. Let's say you are arrested for a minor offense, a misdemeanor. Often a lot of these people can't afford bail, so they have to go to a bail bondsman to get that. And what ends up happening is if you are wealthy enough to pay your bail full, you're fine, you're out. But if you're not, then you have to pay a lot more, and you're sitting in jail. Yeah. And that's obviously a system geared towards the wealthy and not towards the majority of Americans who can't afford it. So the Bail Reform Act also requires a study of 3 years after implementation to ensure that the new alternate systems are also not leading to great detention rates. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this before. In this country, we need bail reform. We need criminal justice reform, the whole system. I mean, once again, when you get arrested, whatnot, you're not necessarily guilty. You know what I'm saying? Right. An indictment. We've been talking about indictments. We hear this word indictment thrown around. All these people have been indicted. Indictment is just an accusation. A lot of these people who sit in jail because they can't even make bail, they're found innocent. Yes. The charges are dropped. So we went through the whole, they don't get that money back. We went through the whole system of paying for them while they're in jail. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's your tax dollars at work, and the crime doesn't fit the time. It never does. Locking these kids up for a joint. I mean, enough is enough. And this is something that's serious. When you guys did the Sean King's and Bernie Sanders rally, that is something serious. I would say that Reform LA. I think criminal and bail reform is definitely in the top 5 things in this country we need to do, because it is also costing, because I know you taxpayers hate to pay those stupid taxes, but it's costing you a ton of money. And Kamala Harris was actually last year introduced
her and Paul.
Bill, and Rand Paul.
Her and Rand Paul. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, we all, many of us agree on. Yeah. So
when a neoliberal and a libertarian are introducing laws and bills that we agree with,
it's about damn time to
where the hell is the Democratic Party? Fam, what else costs us money? Does war cost us money? Tell us something else that the tax. Let's tell the audience today what the taxpayers are paying for today.
So the taxpayers are paying for Israel to attack Palestine.
Because we give them a ton of money.
We give them a ton of money.
You and your tax
weapons,
money.
And you can actually go, and we talked about it in previous shows, to a website and Google and see how much money we're giving them. Yeah. And it's
show those bombs. Get those bombs up there. Look at this, fam.
I informed my parents about this, and they didn't know about that, and they couldn't believe it. And I'm like, no, this is what we're paying. And yeah, it's you can see the images are disturbing. Yeah. And this happened a few days ago, but I wanted to show them, even though some of these images are graphic. Wow. Because this is what's happening, and we're not getting anything.
Yeah. And for the 22 people that are watching us right now in the live stream, you're getting more informed and an independent media show than you will on mainstream media whatsoever. MSNBC, CNN, even Fox. Nobody's talking what's going on with Israel and Palestine once again. And the whole thing about it is I want to constantly point out that, ladies and gentlemen, this is your tax dollars at work. You have a say for what we do and how we spend our money. And the military, bloated bill. This is where it's going to kill people. Right there, to cause more enemies of the United States, and it's your tax dollars. It's once again, I saw that article one time. It was like, this is a bomb that cost the taxpayers $10 million, flown by a plane that cost $100 million to kill people who make less than $5 a day. Fam. Wow. What else do you want to talk about, though, fam? We talked about Israel. Why don't we talk about this war budget? Because we pointed something out, fam, because I put out the other day when you were in Florida and I was here, I was doing a show, I talked about the Progressive Caucus. They presented their own bill.
Yeah. Okay?
And inside that bill, there was no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid. There was money for education. There was money for student loan. Thank you very much. Blah, 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 blah. And there was also health care in there, fam. But we didn't get that type of bill, did we, fam? What kind of bill do we get?
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Was that later on? Sorry. My bad. Am I jumping around?
I wanted to point out that one of the famous Palestinians that was incarcerated unfairly was Ahed Tamimi. Ahed Tamimi will be released this Sunday, very, 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 very soon. And she and her mother are going to hold a press conference in the village of Khan al-Amar, which is actually dominated by Israeli forces. So she is set to be released. If you all remember, she was jailed just around Christmas time with her mother after she slapped a soldier in retaliation. However, the soldier had attacked her first, and actually several of the soldiers had killed and injured some of her family members. So this is just one example of a story that went viral, and I wanted to kind of address that because we sometimes forget to talk about international news and international affairs, which is why a lot of our congressmen and senators can do whatever they want, and
because we forget about it, we bury it.
Yeah, we forget about it. So I did want to move on something kind of funny that I know you'll have a lot to say about, fam.
Okay.
So
me have a lot to say about something, fam? I don't know that.
So according to Yahoo Finance,
oh no,
the socialists
don't get me started.
The Democratic Party. They're coming, fam. We're coming.
The progressives are coming. The progressives are coming. Let's go. Warn everybody. The progressives are coming.
Yeah. So it just feels like it's another red scare to me, along with Russiagate. And I know that I don't have an article right now, but there is a lot of information coming to me that says that these Democrats are going to use progressives and Bernie-crats and frame them into being the easily influenced by Russia and the Kremlin. So that is McCarthyism 2.0.
Yeah.
And this is how they're framing their articles. It's too expensive with this. And let me clarify. Democratic socialism is basically capitalism with a conscience.
Yes.
With literally all it is healthcare, education,
yes,
and
yes.
Reducing the taxes on people who are the middle class instead of the top 1%. It's literally just something rational and sane. It's not anything crazy. It's not like I'm asking you to, abolish capitalism. Of course, in my personal view, we all know where I stand on that. But
you want it to go,
I want it to go. But all democratic socialism is finding a way to get the means back into the hands of the people and the democracy in this country, because democracy is gone. We have an oligarchy, and we're a giant corporation that participates in war as of right now. So the only way is to actually bring back some programs that actually help the poor.
Yes, I want to say something, fam, because I know you just said it. What Fiorella said is very important to understand. I mean, because you understand where she comes. If Fee can probably abolish capitalism, she might. But even still, we're trying to work within the system. Democratic socialism is a capitalist system. Democratic socialism is a capitalist
with
system.
socialism.
It's got social safety nets. It's got, health care for all. It's got, it's a New Deal type of mentality, but it's still a capitalist mentality. And I'm not saying that in a bad way to defame it. I'm trying to say it to all those people out there who go, oh, we can't go socialism, we can't go communism.
Big business
We're
is
staying
still going to be
capitalism.
there, but I think there should be more, like if a business is profiting off of screwing people over, they shouldn't be allowed to function, right? We can have these corporations that are actually good to people exist. In my world, huge corporations wouldn't exist, and I would just support small businesses, mom and pop businesses. That's what I would support. Always supporting people's desire to have something within it, right? I believe that, none of these ideologies function alone. I think we need to, and my friend Keith Anthony Sikora had told me about this too. Like,
Hugs, not drugs. My boy.
A new ideology called progressivism that takes the best out of each one, and I think that's a great idea because I don't think everything on its own, works, and we've seen, especially capitalism without control is obviously a problem. There's absolutely no control in what these banks and these companies do, so that's a huge issue that we need to address. Yeah. And fam, didn't you want to talk about Russia a little bit?
I always want to talk about Russia because the mainstream media can't shut up about Russia. Kevin Kinsinger said, stop talking about Russia. If you want them to stop talking about Russia, you should stop talking about Russia. I can't because you guys won't stop. The mainstream media will not stop. We should stop, but
you know what? They throw lies out.
Stuff.
I have to address that it's lies.
I mean, first of all, I said this before, an indictment is nothing more than an accusation. We hear all these things about Trump did this, Trump did that. Put up the next thing, Anthony. Show this here, this soccer ball. Okay, Putin's soccer ball. It's Putin's soccer ball for Trump had a transmitter chip with a logo indicates that. Now MI5, fat bastard, Austin Powers, everybody's watching Donald Trump. They're following him, and they just cannot stop with this. And we talked about this before on the show as well. Listen, this is a ploy, number one, to keep you distracted so the Democratic Party doesn't have an autopsy and really have to explain why they lost the 2016 election, basically because they represent their donors and not the people. But secondly, 250 Democrats got in a room last week. Okay, they went to talk about how they can move forward in 2020 without kneeling or folding in or whatever you want to talk about it to the progressive movement. And they decided to do what Chuck Schumer said last time. Remember when he said in 2016? I can't find it. He said, for every blue dog Democrat we will lose in Ohio, we will gain 2, maybe 3 moderate Republicans in Ohio, Virginia, and you can repeat that in Pennsylvania. It didn't work. So now they're doomed to do it again. They're going to still continue to push the Russian narrative to try to get more disgruntled Trump voters, move out of the party, and then recruit them to the Democratic Party.
Exactly.
That's your Democratic Party, ladies and gentlemen. Your establishment leaders. That's them.
And so how are we going to believe this narrative without proof? I don't know. I don't know how people even come to believe something like that.
Yeah.
At this point. And I think I want to stop talking about it as much as the next person. But when they are spewing lies in these articles that are so focused on this BS, and and we're going to talk about what they're doing instead. What Democrats are doing behind the scenes that they're not really talking about.
Yeah.
Right? But instead, they're pushing this Russian narrative. But I did want to go on a good note right now.
All right. Hold on this, fam, right now, because we do have a commercial break, because the Convo Couch is getting real now. So we got a couple commercial breaks, and we're going to feature, you know who we're going to feature? Take a guess.
Take a guess.
All right. We'll be back after this commercial break.
My algebra test. What was it? Algebra. Yeah.
New York is my home.
How you doing?
I've never lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
When I grew up here, it was just my mom and me in a one-bedroom, fifth-floor walk-up. New York is where I was raised and where I'm raising my kids. I'm a proud public school graduate and a prouder public school parent. I was given chances I just don't see for most of New York's kids today. Our leaders are letting us down. We are now the most unequal state in the entire country, with both incredible wealth and extreme poverty. Half the kids in our upstate cities live below the poverty line. How did we let this happen? I love New York. I've never wanted to live anywhere else. But something has to change. We want our government to work again on health care, ending mass incarceration, fixing our broken subway. We are sick of politicians who care more about headlines and power than they do about us.
It can't just be business as usual anymore. If we're going to get at the root problem of inequity, we have to turn the system upside down. We have to go out ourselves and seize it. This is a time to stick our necks out, to remember where we came from. This is a time to be visible. This is a time to fight.
I'm Cynthia Nixon. I'm a New Yorker. And together, we can win this fight.
Next up is Albany.
Women like me aren't supposed to run for office. I wasn't born to a wealthy or powerful family. Mother from Puerto Rico, dad from the South Bronx. I was born in a place where your zip code determines your destiny. My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm an educator, an organizer, a working-class New Yorker. I've worked with expectant mothers, I've waited tables and led classrooms. And going into politics wasn't in the plan. But after 20 years of the same representation, we have to ask, who has New York been changing for? Every day gets harder for working families like mine to get by. The rent gets higher, healthcare covers less, and our income stays the same. It's clear that these changes haven't been for us, and we deserve a champion. It's time to fight for a New York that working families can afford. That's why I'm running for Congress. This race is about people versus money. We've got people, they've got money. It's time we acknowledge that not all Democrats are the same. That a Democrat who takes corporate money, profits off foreclosure, doesn't live here, doesn't send his kids to our schools, doesn't drink our water or breathe our air, cannot possibly represent us. What the Bronx and Queens needs is Medicare for all, tuition-free public college, a federal jobs guarantee, and criminal justice reform. We can do it now. It doesn't take 100 years to do this. It takes political courage. A New York for the many is possible. It's time for one of us. Vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on June 26th.
Let's get these on. Let's get these mics rolling. Okay, we're back on the Convo couch. Had a little Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes.
I know you were pumped when you first saw that. So was I. I love the Cynthia Nixon one, too, as well. Remember, she has an election coming up.
She
New
does.
York separates their national seats from their state seats, which is something I think is really stupid,
It's so dumb.
and they need to change that. I just want to point out a couple people going on. Fee's going to look at the Facebook real quick, and I'm going to look at the YouTube. Clinky, Klnki, he says, or she says, whoever it is, democratic socialism is the New Deal, FDR, and the solution is to create the most powerful middle class the world has ever seen. So true. The middle class is very, very important. Without a middle class, the whole economy shuts down. I think the oligarchs are kind of learning that if you don't have the middle class to buy the goods and services that are rendered, then therefore everything falls apart. Thank you, Kalinki. You got something to say there, fam?
Well, Hamo Shower says democratic socialism is used to fool progressives into compromising their values so that no true democracy ever takes root. Only a full egalitarian system will give ordinary folks what they want and deserve. So to that I say, I don't think it's used to fool. I think it's used as a stepping stone because I think I addressed that in a comment. We can't change things overnight. There's no way that there's only a set group of people that are even okay with hearing the word socialism, even next to democracy. We can't just do that. Like, even though I believe in abolishing capitalism, I can't just do that overnight. There has to be a certain way to transition people, but they won't even, like, I'm not talking about accepting corporate money. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm simply talking about leaving businesses, especially small businesses. I think we should do away with the way corporations are treating people, with the way they're treating their workers, and so on and so forth, and impose so many regulations and sanctions on them, because there's no way. Like, they are valued more than people, and that needs to change. And so whatever you want to call it, I don't think we should get stuck on the label. We just need to focus on the issues. And as long as we agree on the issues, then we can move forward.
Okay, yes. Also, I want to point out, thank you very much for watching. Lauren Steiner, of course, is watching. Gilbert Flores.
With the robust opposition.
With the robust opposition. Love you, Lauren Steiner. Steve Wilbrand, a good friend of ours, always on.
Wilbrand,
Rocky
always.
Bellinger in the house. And
shout out to Tim Johnson from Our Revolution Television.
Costa Mesa.
Who's always sharing our stuff.
I want to make a thing once again. Gilbert Flores is another big fan of the show. Thank you very much, Gilbert Flores. He also put up, this is very interesting, because we were talking about, you won't see this type of media that we're talking about on the mainstream media. And he says, of course, because the mainstream media is owned by corporate special interest. And it is. And that's the big thing when people attack me for watching RT. Like, oh, you're always following RT. You're always following RT. They're Russian controlled.
Or Caitlin Johnson.
Yeah. We get attacked for that stuff. But guess what? Your mainstream media is owned by corporations. They don't care what the working class people have to say. They want to push their war narrative. They want to push their whatever narrative. They're terrible. They want to hide you progressives. They don't even put progressives on CNN and MSNBC. You have a better chance of seeing a progressive on Fox.
Which is insane to me, by the way. So, at this point, So, fam, let's get back to it. Did you want to address one more question?
I do want to address one more question out here, because I love talking to our audience. And I want to point out a guy by the name of, is this a guy or a girl? I think it's Hamo Shire.
Yeah. That's the one I just pointed
out. You read that one out? Okay,
Is
perfect.
This another one?
No, that was the same one, but I was thinking about it. But Lauren Steiner, well, I'm going to just say, we'll get back to the stories. We don't want to talk about anything. Rocky Bellinger went out and pat me in the shoulder and he said, spot on, Craig. We love you, Rocky Bellinger.
You, Rocky.
Let's get into the next story and not waste some time.
Okay, fam. So the next story is Disneyland. So as many of you know, Bernie Sanders went to California. And while he was here, we along with many of our activist friends, California for Progress, and many coalitions, organized a rally. But California for Progress and Michelle, Eileen, and Jeremy White were and Lauren Hamill were the main organizers of this event.
Not Steiner. Lauren Hamill.
And Bernie talked a lot about unions while he was here. He talked about the prison reform, and he went to a rally in Anaheim. And he spoke to people who worked at Disneyland, people who were living in their cars, people who couldn't afford to even work there because they worked there, and then they were evicted from their apartment because they couldn't afford rent, and then they had to sleep in their cars, and they had to drive 2 hours when they didn't have a car, and in transportation. So it's just something that needed to be addressed. Why is Disney, who makes billions and billions of dollars in profit, unable to pay their workers a living wage? So
Amazon, same thing, by the way.
Oh yeah, freaking Bezos.
You got all these CEOs making billions of dollars
of Richards for Bezos, by the way. So I wanted to say that, and then Florida is another one. Obviously, there's Disney World there, and some of these people from Florida actually went to the Disneyland. United with them to speak about their issues, and Bernie did another town hall talking about CEO versus the workers. And so because of all the people pushing, all the unions pushing to give these people a livable wage, Disney just said in California they will have a livable wage of $15 per hour. In Florida by 2021. However, yes, this is taking a long time, and I agree that $15 is no longer that much, but let me just say that in Florida, that's significantly more than what people get paid.
The minimum wage is $7.25, I think, in Florida.
Yes, and it's more than double. And but in California, that's still, in my opinion, on the lower end. And I think there should be. Yes, it's a good step in California, but I think we need to pump that up to at least $20 an hour at the very least, because if wages had gone up with inflation, they'd be like at $35.
Yes,
now,
and in
which is
California
insane.
they would, and it just leads, it just shows you, it just time and time again what these companies do. It reminds me, it's like you see that when we were having this rally out here, and I was reading all the information, I found out that 10% of all Disney workers are homeless. Something like that. That's ridiculous. How does 10%, 1 out of every 10 people that work at Disney is homeless? I mean, that was ridiculous. And the traveling back and forth, you said, to get there because they can't even live in those areas. They're so poor. But anytime any of these CEOs, they get any of this money, and it's this, they're just always out for themselves. It always reminds me of, remember when Obama bailed out the banks and stuff? He gave them money, and he instructed them, go lend that money out to the people. They didn't lend that money out to the people. They went and bought their own stocks. They gave their CEO big bonuses. And I think we have to start doing or start focusing on making companies do what Ben and Jerry's company does.
That's
Ben
a good
and Jerry's,
corporation.
it's a great corporation, but what they have is that the CEO he can only make a certain amount more than the lowest employee paid in the company. And they have to start doing with these, because that's the old school. That's what they did back in the days during the golden age when our parents were working in these factories, is that they tied how much is the lowest wage earner making in our company to how much the CEO can make. And there was a certain percentage or certain time more. We have a friend, Lauren Steiner, who's an awesome reporter. She talked about how much her father made when he owned the factory, her grandfather and father, and it was, just significantly much lower than what the CEOs are doing to the employees today.
Right. And that's what I mean by regulations, is that these people can't go and exploit.
Yeah.
Exploit the workers who are making them those billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of billions of dollars,
Fam, are you going to get me upset?
Fam. So
Fam, are
while
you gonna...
the people are focusing on Russia, 139 House Democrats joined the GOP to approve $717 billion in military spending. 139 Democrats.
Excuse me for 1 second. Ah!
Yeah.
I feel better. Not any blue will do.
No.
This is, we talk about this all the time. They talk about Trump is crazy, Trump's a madman, and yet they go and enable him. That's where the money is. 51 cents on every tax dollar goes to the Pentagon, goes to the war machine. We can cut that right there. That's bigger than the next 7 countries combined. Why can't people see this? If you cut that by 25%, there you go. Then we can help Americans who pay that tax dollars. That's what it's about. It's not about giving people stuff for free. It's just properly allotting our tax money. And I want to know who these Democrats are. Can we find out, fam, who these Democrats are? Are one of them my Congress people?
So yes, we have a list right here.
Do we have a list? No list. Okay.
Oh, no list. Okay, but there.
Give me somebody I know. Give me a name I know. Is Adam Schiff on that list?
Is Adam Schiff on this list? Let me see.
Yes, Adam Schiff for brains
is on this
there
list.
He is.
Several of our favorite Democrats.
Anybody else? Give me somebody
Delaney,
else. Oh,
Donovan.
Man. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Once again, that's why
Tim
we say.
Tim Canova, by the way, is running against
Tim.
her independent in Florida. And vote for him, because look who she's voting for.
Yep.
Look who she's voting
Giving
with.
Trump the money.
Exactly.
Billions and billions of dollars so we can kill more people, because just like Obama, there's bombs dropping every 12 minutes, I think it is, something like that. I mean, that's where that money's got to go. They get that defense budget. They're not just going to sit there and roll it over to the next year. Nancy Pelosi. And you know what she'll say? Well, I don't want to I'm a progressive, I'm a woman, and I don't want to take away money from the troops. The money is not going to troops.
Why do you keep voting for her?
Defense contractors.
Why do you keep voting for her?
Oh my Lanta.
Oh my Lanta.
Steve Wilbrandt pointed out that he loves Tim Canova, and then earlier Lauren Steiner pointed out that Tim Canova is on Fox because MSNBC won't put him on. CNN, liberal channels won't put him on.
So does that make him a conservative? No. That's the only way he can get access to the mainstream media. And let us not forget that the mainstream media gave Bernie literally almost 0 minutes on national news.
They showed Trump's empty podium. Sorry.
Yeah.
Instead of showing it,
so
he was giving an amazing speech, and we couldn't even find it anywhere. And they were just showing Trump's empty podium. I also want to point out real quick too that Rich Lyons, he jumped on there, whatnot. He said something too, fam, and I want to. He said, don't lose and this is important, okay? Because what we tend to do is we tend to lose the narrative, okay? the Republicans somehow control the narrative. And he says, Rich Lyons, please don't back away from the Democratic Socialist label. It is the ultimate solution to the systematic problem that is afflicting we the people here in America. And that's true. We got to keep pushing our narrative of what Democratic Socialism is.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot stop. You know, Steve Wilbrand put up, I support and love DSA. We have to put this up.
DSA
they are
all the way.
demonizing this word socialist.
They are.
My aunt, she said so many times, a socialist is right next to a communist. And I used to say in what? Fucking spelling?
I hear it from my own people, my own family, and it's crazy how this one word has gotten so diluted and just manipulated into being something so negative.
Yeah.
And they're going to use that against us. Mark my words, the Democratic establishment is going to use us to lump us into the whole Russiagate thing in order to destroy progressive candidates.
Somebody called me a
This is
bot the
already
other
happening.
day. They're like, you're being blocked, you bot. I'm like, I'm a bot. Oh, man, I'm moving up in the world. Tim Canova rocks. He desperately needs your donation. Yes, he does, Rich Lyons. If you get a chance, go to Tim Canova's website. Let's take a look at it and see if you can help. Send $1, send $2. Phone bank for the man.
27.
I phone bank from California for Tim Canova. I have 2 Tim Canova T-shirts. I need the third one for my girl, Fiorella. And, yes, we love Tim Canova. Fam.
And fam, just one last thing on that.
Sorry?
How do we always have money for war, but when it comes to, you know, education, healthcare, we don't have money. We don't have money. It's too expensive. The Democrats say that themselves.
Yeah.
These people want handouts. These people want free shit. And we don't want that.
It's just allotting our own tax. We pay our taxes.
It's a reallocation of where the money goes.
It's we say where we want to spend it. We want to spend it at home. We want to spend it on our roads. We want to spend it on our children's education. We want to spend it on our elders' health care. We want to spend it on the things we want to spend it on. Don't let them control the narrative. And that's what they're doing. They're doing a red herring. They're saying, oh, we need to defend ourselves. So many Trump supporters said, oh, you know what? We need to be respected again. What do you mean? Obama went drone crazy. We need to spend more money and waste more money creating more enemies. No, there's never a discussion about it. It's just money put on the table. Adam Schiff, Pelosi, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Feinstein.
We got you. Feinstein. Well, I heard Feinstein voted against the last one.
She voted against this one.
Finally, because she was getting pressure from guys like David Hildebrand, who was on the...
She doesn't want to lose to Kevin De Leon. It's that simple.
That's it. So, fam, I've been talking a lot. I did a report on Nicaragua with Rachel Brunke.
Which was a great...
By the way, Rachel Brunke agreed to come on Tuesday and talk about Honduras. We're going to talk about Honduras. I want to keep putting it in your face, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to understand why we have a serious immigration problem. It's not because this is the greatest country in the world and everybody wants to come here and take our jobs. Sorry about that. But the reason why we have a problem, fam, why don't you unpack it? Because I talked about it again. $92 million since 4 years with Obama. The IED, which is the International Economic Development Affairs, whatever, I don't even know what it is. They gave the opposition to Daniel Ortega $91 million. Fam, talk about it.
So it's just a fact that we're still dealing with the results and the consequences of what we did and our allies did in Central America during the Cold War, and that's just one part. We intervened in South America. We also have been intervening in the Middle East. So the violence that these people are coming from, that they're fleeing, that they're trying to escape from, is actually a result from our own actions.
Yep.
So how dare we go to these people and tell them America's closed when they go to the border? How dare we? They are escaping from things we did. They are seeking asylum, and that asylum should be granted.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. And now Vice News posted this article.
Do you see this right here? By the way, Anthony and I, we ran that picture and that story last week. So thank you, Vice News, for watching and finally going with these stories. And I wish more net would pick this up. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs. Fam, continue on. I'm sorry, but we had the same picture up with Reagan and the socialism.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Because it just drives me crazy. And now we have a situation where in Nicaragua, which is your newest situation, which is unfolding in front of our eyes, where the indigenous leader who wasn't part of their oligarchy system, who was actually a Sandinista, who actually won the popular vote by 60 to 70% 3 times, is getting his opposition is funding against him. Why? Because American interests, their oligarchs, they're not controlling anything. They can't win elections anymore, so they have to make him the boogeyman and then throw in coups and cause death and craziness and chaos. And we're going to talk about what Manuel Zelaya in Honduras on our next show. But fam, talk about this, what Vice is talking about here, because I'm just yelling till I'm blue in the face. I keep saying we keep on funding these people. And that's, once again, guess who's paying for it, fam?
The taxpayers, fam.
Taxpayers.
So,
$92 million. Obama did it too.
So the triangle is the triangle that we've been focused on is El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, and these people are fleeing from high rates of homicide. And so what we're seeing is a lot of these people that are actually fleeing, and this ties right into our humanity first thing, are children who don't even speak the language. They speak a native language. They don't even speak Spanish. They are native indigenous people, and this all started in the 1980s, as you said.
Ronald Reagan.
And
the Contras.
The political, we were funding these people, and it was all based on politics and money and whatever was more advantageous to us as Americans. And so,
but something too, fam, it was also a Red Scare too as well, because show Ronald Reagan, show that shirt. What's stop communism? It's like it's ridiculous. They throw these boogeyman statements out, and you keep buying it. Yeah, I mean, in theory, communism might be great. It might not work, whatever, and stuff like that. But it all depends on the government itself. And we talk about the triangle, right? We talk about Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador. That's where the majority of the immigrants are coming from, right? They're migrating from those three countries. Well, in the next 5 years, there's 2 countries that are going to be added to the list if we don't stop. Venezuela, for one, because we've been messing with that government. That show's going to be in a couple weeks. And number 2, Nicaragua. If we don't do something right now, if we don't back Daniel Ortega, because Daniel Ortega is the rightful leader of that country, 1/3 of the indigenous people now own land. He's moved people up in poverty. Their GDP has increased 5% every year. But once again, $92 million, fam. We're funding the opposition. By the way, Kid Cabela's on. Kid Cabela says, keep doing the great work.
Kid Cabela,
Hardlens Media. We love you, Kid Cabela. Thank you.
We want to go visit you guys when we
can.
One
of the reasons we started, we had the courage, guys like Kid Cabela doing work. Do work, Kid Cabello. Sorry, fam, I get crazy.
So Guatemala in the 1950s.
The Chapins.
Attempted to end the exploitation of the labor class and give the Mayan Indians land and give them their rights. But that actually threatened our interests. So according to now classified unclassified CIA documents, since this happened, we decided that this was communism and we needed to stop it. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, it does. It's because the people buying it. It's all about American interest. This is about American imperialism and American dollars. For certain people, for oligarchs to put more money in their pocket. And once again, the boogeyman, the communism, the socialism. I just want to put a comment out here from Rich Lyons. This is beautiful. Rich Lyons, listen to this. Democratic socialism is thriving in Scandinavia. They are living longer. They are living happier. They have universal health care. They have a living wage. They have affordable, higher education and daycare, and they have more vacation time and other benefits that bring peace of mind to their populace. It's time for a change in America. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say yes to what Rich Lyons has just said. Isn't it time? We're going backwards. We're digressing here. We work like crazy for no money. Sorry,
fam. People say that won't work here because we're a huge country, and that is a very good point. We're a huge country. Well, it's sort of slowly kind of working a little bit more in Canada, and that is also a huge country. And so what we need to do is find ways to nationalize, I think, some things so they're not as complicated. Healthcare, education. Why don't we want a healthy, intelligent population? Maybe because then they won't have to go be part of the military. I don't know.
Well, that's the one. Once again, fam, like you said, we have the money, fam. We have the money. It's in that defense budget. You don't have to give that money to the Pentagon, which I think the Pentagon can do. They lost like what, 19 trillion? Did we look under the couch covers? Look, is there 19 trillion dollars? They lost trillions and trillions of your dollars. Stop taking it on the lip. Fam, let's unpack some more stuff, because right now it's 7:07 in the East Coast. I'm gonna miss the Wu-Tang show. It is now 10. Wait, we got to tell you, it's Moscow time, 5 a.m. Wake up. Good morning, Moscow. Sorry.
Fam, they're going to call us Russian bots.
Good morning, Moscow.
wanted to highlight something. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is coming to Los Angeles.
Who's she?
And
for $27, you can see.
Or $10 if you are a student.
It's going to be huge.
And if you want to donate to people who can't afford,
yes.
There's also going to be an option as well. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is, of course, the most popular congressperson or person running to be in Congress right now. Yes. She's the representative of the progressive movement as it is right now. She is a member of the DSA. She won on a very, very left-wing platform, but it's a platform that is reminiscent of our feelings and the feelings of many progressives across the United States. So I think the issue she speaks on about New York, which are housing, the working class, education, all of those issues are the same issues we are facing here in California, being, having, especially in Los Angeles, a very big city. So I'm very excited, and we're working with a coalition of great people to make this event and several events happen, and we're very excited to have her here.
Yes.
So if
Gilbert Flores, go Alex!
If you can purchase a ticket, if you're here, if you can purchase a ticket, the location is right there. It's going to be in Los Angeles, downtown, and please support our progressive candidates.
Yeah. This is big. This is huge. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ran on a Democratic Socialist platform. She ran on education. She ran on universal health care. She went out. She knocked on doors. She talked to her constituents, and she took down the number 4 ranking Democrat in Congress. So it says a lot right now that we can really take a hold of our government and take it back. Now, don't get me wrong. She hasn't won her election yet. She still has to face the Republican. She's still got to get in there and govern. So there's a lot of work to do, and we'll see how it's going to be done. And as we know, fam, right now the establishment is going to try to put their claws and leeches into her. So we'll see how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's one of us when we say we're restaurant workers. She was bartending over a year ago, just a little bit under a year ago, excuse me, and now she's going to be running for Congress to represent the people, the actual people, for a change.
Awesome.
Yes.
And this is not only about her, as she has said many times. This is about, like Bernie said, about giving other progressives the incentive to run for office, giving other progressives a platform to have a voice for all of these issues that many of us are facing. And so this is going to help Los Angeles build a stronger connections with the coalitions that they have. So.
Yeah. So she's here. Come see her. She's amazing. When I went and saw her about a month ago, it's just so great to see you little girls coming to watch this woman speak. She's just so inspiring, and she's got a great campaign going, by the way. A lot has to do. I think in 2016, fam, a lot of progressive candidates learned a serious lesson about how to campaign, and when and how to campaign. And once again, I said, it's just got to go out there and do it right. You got to knock on doors. You got to have to have an online presence. You have to walk the beat. You just got to go out there and meet as many people as you can.
And you have to talk about the issues.
The issues.
That's all it is. It's simple. You talk about the issues. You stick to your guns. You don't go and give false 5-minute BS arguments that go around the bushes. You speak directly on the issues that people care about. That's it. And you can convince people that might not agree with you on other things if you can convince them that you actually care about them, because you do. And it's not an act, and it's real.
Yes.
So that's all it takes. And she did an amazing job, and we have other progressive candidates that are doing amazing work.
Yeah.
And
Sarah Smith coming up in
them.
Washington.
So.
Sarah Smith coming up in Washington. Pay attention to Sarah Smith. There's another one running for independent, Jennifer Gigi Ferguson. Take a look at her problem. She's running for Senate. So there's a lot of people up there. Hopefully we'll be up there next month. Who knows? Maybe we can, maybe we can't. But anyways, yes. Fam, that was a great show. I think we went over a little bit.
Yes, we did.
Do we have anything else to unpack? Anything else you want to talk about? It's good to have you back on the couch.
It's good to actually be on the couch.
I miss my partner.
I did. I miss my.
You know what I'm saying? I did some shows
without
her.
I did a show with Niko House, which was great.
Yeah, so I went to
Niko
Florida.
House in my house.
Niko House in her house. I went to Florida. I actually did a show with Niko too. It's always great to talk about Niko. We want to thank Niko for using his platform, the MCSC, Mikasa Sukasa Network, where you can find your balance. Can we send some shout outs to people on Facebook real quick? I want to say thank you to, hold on, you know what? Since it is Wu-Tang Day, let's get a little Wu-Tang in the background. Hold on. Well, we got everybody talking over here. Let me cut the volume over here. So we want to send some shout-outs to Rich Lyons. Don't forget about Tulsi Gabbard. We won't Rich Lyons. She's a fan of the show. We love her. Steve Woolbrand, thank you always so much for watching.
We're a fan of her.
We do appreciate. Yeah, we're a fan of Tulsi. I don't know if she's a fan of us. Gilbert Flores always in there. Nick Norman, thank you so much. El Reiki Christine, thank you so much. We love you. Jonathan Mayorka, I love you, brother. Ed Zachary, always watching out. We appreciate that. Hey, Mo, great thing to say today. And anybody else out there watching, Kit Cabello, Lauren Steiner, Chris Hamastock, we love you. Thank you so much. Nick Normans, Lions, we are out there for you. Sepharine Prime, and many more. Big time, Timmy Jim and the OC. Over on the YouTube, we want to say thank you to Kalinki. I guess that is. They Live, We Sheep, Stephen Call.
Thank you all for watching.
We appreciate it, and we want you to tune on in. Next week, we're going to have Rachel Brunke back on Tuesday to talk about Honduras and many more guests to come. Fiorella is big in the YouTube movement. She's going to talk about a little bit about where bridge housing is going next week. Very, very important. I am Pasta Jardula from the Convo Couch.
And I am Fiorella.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.